And also, on a lovely morning like this, we ought to talk about something which one avoids all the time: death. Talking about death is not morbid. It's part of one's life. Whether one is young or old, diseased, is part of our daily existence, which we try to avoid. So we ought to talk that over together. And not say, why do you talk about dreadful thing like death on a lovely morning like this? Green fields and blue skies and lovely trees. Lovely trees, the blue sky, and the green lawn is part of life. This is also part of life. But we are frightened of it. Therefore we say we'll keep it at arm's length, as far away as possible. Don't let's talk about it. But it's there. And man, from the beginning of time, has faced this problem, this terrible thing called death, and has found many, many explanations, including what happens after. The whole Asiatic world believes in being born again next life. And the Western world is collecting a lot of evidence about it. Writing books about it. In India, it's as ancient as the hills. But their belief is to be born next life to a better life. Always a better life. If you're poor, you were born next life to rightly to money, to a better house. If you've got a better house, you'll have a better palace next life. If you have a palace this life, next life you'll be a king. You know the game. So what you do now, what you sow now, you will reap next life. They all believe this most earnestly. It is there in their blood. But you see, but when one asks, how do you live this life? They look the other way. So that belief has no value at all, like most beliefs. Or in the Western world you have other kind of belief. Resurrection, Gabriel blowing the horn, all that. Man is seeking comfort, really. I have collected so much this life, so many pictures, so much furniture, so much land. I've cultivated my brain through education, through study, through experience, traveled a great deal. If I die, what's the point of it all? I've lived a moral life and I die. Why should I live a moral life? You follow? These are all the various arguments. And explanations about death. we won't go into all the details of it. But this is a problem that we should talk about together. What place has fear and death? What's the relationship of the two? And what is important, the before or the after? You understand? Before death or after death? For most of us, after death is much more important. But we should consider seriously what is before death. What is this thing called living? And what is the thing called the ending? The living and the ending. What is this living, to which all human beings cling to? Always avoiding the ending. They may not want to end through writing a book and therefore becoming immortal, or a poem, or a painting. Do something that will give you a name, a position, well established, therefore you become one of the immortals of the academic forces. You see? Sorry. So what should we consider? If we are at all serious, which is urgent to be considered, the living or the dying, the ending. Both have importance, because that which ends has a new beginning. Not incarnation. That is, is it possible to incarnate now? You understand? To reincarnate now, not after. That may be merely idealistic, romantic, sentimental nonsense. But the ending is a new beginning, or everything is. I don't know if you follow this. If I end totally, completely all attachment, not some future date, now, today, completely end my attachment with all its corruption, there's a new beginning. Right? But one is so frightened to end, not knowing what will happen. And if what will happen is certain, then there is no ending. I wonder if you understand all this. So is it possible to end while living? Not suicide, I'm not talking of that. Taking a pill and exit. But I'm talking about this life, the routine, the boredom, the self-centered activity, the constant demand, constant wanting something, wanting. The attachment to somebody, the attachment to a belief, to an ideal, to a conclusion, to a concept, to end attachment. Let's take that for a moment, if you will. Attachment to your religion, to your gods, to your church, attachment. To your husband, to your wife, to your son. Not to believe, that's fairly simple. To some image, some picture, some utopian concept, or even your own personal experience which one clings to. Those are fairly easy to say, well, but to be free of attachment to a person on whom you depend. What is this attachment? Why is one attached? Let's go into it together. Why am I attached to my son, to my wife? She has given me her body. She has given me comfort. She's given me, encouraged me when I was depressed, all that thing that goes on. And the picture I have built about her, the image I am attached to that. Not to her as a person, but I am attached to all the memories, the remembrance she has cultivated, in that relationship in which we have grown together. I do not know if one has not realized that when one is tied to anything, there is corruption. If I am tied to my nationality, it is corruption. If I am tied to an ideal, it is corruption. Or a dialectical opinion and finding the truth out of that opinion. If I am attached to that, as a socialist, communist, left, right, center, and all the rest of it, in that there is corruption. So I discover that wherever there is attachment, there must be corruption. It is inevitable. It's a law. All that I recognize logically, intellectually, but inwardly I'm still have a battle with the intellectual conclusion and the fact I'm attached. Intellectual conclusions I can let go. It's fairly easy. But though I have examined the cause of attachment, I am still attached. Because I am frightened to be alone, stand alone. In attachment there is some form of security. And I have no security if I am by myself. And I am frightened to be by myself, stand on my own feet. Therefore I lean on gurus, all that bits and pieces. Now, I realize the fact that in that attachment there is really no security. Because she might die, she might run away, she might look at somebody else. She's a free person. But I don't want her to be free, but I am attached. So can I look at that attachment, have an insight into that attachment, Because insight is the liberating factor. Not arguments, not explanations, not the causes, not any amount of pressure, but the liberating fact of insight into attachment. Then there's a freedom from it, completely. Which doesn't mean you become cynical and all the rest of it. Out of that freedom, there is love. So, can we look at our present life, the daily living, not the death? We'll talk about it if there is time afterwards. But this thing called existence. And then voluntarily, easily, to all the psychological factors. Not physical factors, I don't mean that. Can't end having a house, that would be absurd. I have end for food, clothes, but the psychological factors of attachment, of fear, for all those things to which we cling to. Can all those end? Not when you die, when one dies, but while living. Living with all the energy, vitality, intelligence, energy, not when you're gaga or when you're senile, but when there is tremendous activity going on, to end these psychological factors. That is death. Not the physical organism coming to an end, either through misuse, through accident, old age, and so on. But death is the ending of all that one holds psychologically. That is, must one take one by one of all the various factors, please follow this minute, all various separate factors like fear, pleasure, pain, sorrow, loneliness, anxiety, and so on, uncertainty, one by one and end them, or have an insight into the whole thing. You understand? Because they're all interrelated. They're not separate. So to have a total insight into that is the liberation, is to liberate the whole of it. Right? That is to remain totally with the whole structure of me. Because the me is the knowledge. Is the knowledge of 1,000 years, which has made my life into a routine to a certain what it is now. And to have a total insight into it. That is real freedom. Then there is a new beginning, totally. And also there is the question, what happens if I don't end all the content of my consciousness? You understand? I agree with you, you have pointed out to me all the things, but I haven't been able to succeed. I haven't been able to have this deep insight into the whole nature of my being. I've partial insight. I've got rid of one or two, half a dozen little absurdities, but I've still got very deep absurdities. So what happens when I die? You follow my question? You are all interested in this, of course. See, this is the tragedy. I've got rid of few of the things, but I still hold on to something which I want, which is dear to me, which is next to my heart. I won't let go. So please tell me what happens afterwards. Are you interested in all this? I'm still interested, I'm still attached, but not me, to my wife or to ideal. I'm still attached to the money which I've collected. I can't take it with me, but I want it till the last moment. So I'm attached to that. What happens? To understand this question, one must go very deeply into the whole consciousness of man. If you are not too tired, are you? We must question the content of consciousness. That content is put there by thought. I hope this is clear. Probably it's not. Let me. We said thought is the root cause of thought, of fear, is time, thought. Some of you have heard this probably for the first time. We've been talking about it in previous talks. Fear is the product of time, thought. Time is thought. They are not two separate things. And time and thought have put all the contents of consciousness together. My belief, my experience, my fears, my pleasures, my specialities, surgeon, carpenter, you follow? All that is part of my, is the content of my consciousness, my attachment. That content makes consciousness. Without that content, consciousness, as we know, cannot exist, right? The content makes up consciousness. If the content is not, which is fear, pleasure, anxiety, loneliness, all that, then what is my consciousness? Which is the content of my consciousness is me. Please follow me. The content is me. I am that whole of that consciousness. So I've let part of that consciousness go. Content of that consciousness go. Right? The things that don't matter very much. And the things that matter very deeply are whole. Right? And I discover also that this consciousness is the consciousness of all mankind. That is the real thing which we won't face. The content of my consciousness, belief, culture, the paint, the books I've read, the fears, and so on, so on, so on, is common ground on which all mankind stands. Go to Asia, they have the same problems. Sorrow, pain, lack of work. Oh God, so many things. So this consciousness is common to all of us. Please follow this carefully, if you will. It's not mine or yours, it's common ground on which humanity stands. And I, part of that consciousness, of the common consciousness, I've let few things go. So does few people in India let go. But they hold on to the something. So the common thread is there. I wonder if you understand this. And if you let the whole content be wiped away by insight, you have contributed to that consciousness enormous amount. You understand? You have brought a totally new dimension into that consciousness. And what you have brought is so colossally important, because you brought real freedom for man from sorrow, from pain. You follow? Real freedom. So it is utmost important that you empty the that content, not just one piece here and there. This is logical, this is what is happening. We're all influenced by the killers of the world, Hitler included. We're all influenced by literature, by various teachers that have been before. All those are part of our consciousness. And when we live within that consciousness, there's nothing new. It's like a man who has read a great deal. Personally, I used to know somebody who used to have, he could talk about any subject on earth. Eastern philosophy, Western, anything you want. So one day we were talking, he says to me, that with all this knowledge I have, I probably can never experience something original. There is that try, you understand? So what happens to a man, what happens to the content of that consciousness, which is not mine? If I let go, few things I let go, but hold on to something very strongly, I help to continue that consciousness. You understand? I'm utterly responsible. If I am violent, I'm sustaining that consciousness. If I feel anxiety, pain, grief, all that, I help to hold it. But if you, through insight, liberate the content, you add something incalculably valuable. That's the greatest morality. To be free of that content, to give a new meaning to life, which is love and compassion with its intelligence.